I must rise above the flames.
Welcome back, Ronin Renegades. I'm Lupinefiasco. This is Daily FaB Gameplay, and today we are playing our favorite FaB Rising Rebellion. For anyone who's new to the channel, welcome to the Resistance. What we do here is review replays of games I played on the Talishar.net client days or weeks ago, after enough time has passed that I lose my bias and can more objectively judge the quality of my games. I will talk through turn cycles and give my thoughts on the line I would take now, then compare that to the line I took then at the time of recording. We either learn from my mistakes or reinforce good play patterns with the overall goal of tightening and optimizing our gameplay in the future to take down paper events and walk away with that shiny, shiny cardboard. If you would like to check out the list I'm playing here or try it for yourself, there is a FaB deck link in the video description below. While you're down there, if you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to my channel. It is the best free way to support me and to make sure that you see every new episode of Daily FaB Gameplay in your video feed. There is also a link to my Blue Sky, my Discord, and my Patreon, where you can get access to the matchup guide for this deck and for all of my decks forever. Now, without further ado, let's jump right into the action. We won the die roll and chose to go second. I like going second against assassins because any of their hand disruption just doesn't matter when I get to draw up to maximum hand size at the end of their turn. Name of the game here is just going to be mitigating damage on turn 0. Things to know against Slippy: they will attack for less damage than Marionette and can convert hands better. But what they really do is damage in multiples of 3s. So Slippy, unlike Marionette, doesn't have the text that stealth attacks will deal 1 more point of damage while you're marked. So Mark of the Black Widow, red, will always only come in for 3 damage, or Kiss of Death will come in for 3. All of their buffs buff in multiples of, to a maximum of 3. So Razor's Edge, Tarantula Toxin, Pick Up the Mantle, any of the Spike Width effects all buff for 3. So if you're going to block, be prepared to block 3, and then also be prepared to block 6. Aside from Leave No Witnesses, which comes in for 4, but none of Slippy's buffs will target Leave No Witnesses because it has Contract, not Stealth. So I like bringing my defense reactions into this. I like boarding above 60 cards. That's just how I approach assassin matchups. Not that Slippy is trying to fatigue me, but it is something that could end up happening, so that's why I go above 60. But the fact that we have so many 3 blocks is really nice in this matchup. Now, how do I want to address this Hunter's Clave? I do want to block it. I don't want to give it to Slippy for free. Even though us being marked doesn't buff Slippy's attacks, it does give them more value from Mark of the Black Widow, Mark of the Funnel Web, Take Up the Mantle. So I don't want to make it easy. If we block this Hunter's Clave, Slippy can always just flick knives and mark us. But unlike Syndra, they don't get to just pick up a dagger for free at the end of the turn, they have to work for it. And so I am interested in making Slippy work for the mark, which means that I want to block this. Of the 4 cards in my hand, the only one that I really want to keep is Brand with Cinderclaw. So I actually am going to block with Art of the Dragon Fire here, keeping my blue in Dragon Power, and also keeping Loyalty Beyond the Grave. Not because I really want to end my turn with Loyalty, but because I want to be able to block in multiples of 3. I think there's going to be a follow-up to this Hunter's Clave, and even if there isn't, I can arsenal Loyalty Beyond the Grave and save it for the next time I need to block something in a multiple of 3. Here we have an Infect with Go again. I'm going to block this with my Dragon Power because I'm either going to have Loyalty Beyond the Grave for a reaction, or because Slippy has a follow-up to the Infect. So we get a Tarantula Toxin that's going to shred my Dragon Power down to 0. Loyalty Beyond the Grave will cover the Infect for 3. I'm not expecting Slippy to play this last card, choosing to arsenal it instead, and that is the case. This hand mostly plays itself. We can Brand with Cinderclaw red, immediately follow it with Art of the Dragon Blood to give Dragon Blood Go again. We then play Display Loyalty, and then between pitching Brand with Cinderclaw to attack with Searing Emberblade, or playing Brand with Cinderclaw, then attacking with Phoenix Flame that gets a Shuko trigger is the same amount of damage. It's always 4. The question is, do we want it split between 3 and 1 or 2 and 2? Ultimately, it doesn't matter here. I don't see Arachne giving us Black Tech Whisperers to block the Phoenix Flame for 1. I would assume that they think we are not going to break Mask of the Pouncing Lynx this early, and they are right. So the benefit of pitching Brand with Cinderclaw to attack with Searing Emberblade is that we keep a card in our deck, which, again, I'm not expecting Slippy to try and fatigue me, but if that is what ends up happening naturally over the course of the game, then I'm at least being somewhat resilient to fatigue, and in a situation where it literally does not matter whether we play or pitch Brand with Cinderclaw, we get the same amount of damage in the same sequence, we might as well just pitch it. Arachne here not doing any blocks, it's fine with me. We get to push a 4-card 14, and just put Slippy in a position where they are getting closer and closer to a point where Mask of the Pouncing Lynx does represent a significant amount of the remaining life total, and I would be looking to break it. If they just take all of this damage, yeah, we could break Pouncing Lynx. We've hit 5 times, we still have a Shuko trigger, so Salt the Wound comes in for 8, but it also just removes the threat of Pouncing Lynx from the game, and I really want Slippy to fear Pouncing Lynx once they start getting to very low life totals. This is not a Hunter's Clave that I want to block, really, outside of turn 0. Hunter's Clave just isn't worth the block value unless it's going to kill us. We would have to give Flamescale Furnace in order to play around the piercing. And there is some validity to doing that. If I think that Slippy is going to Flick Knives me, I could use Furnace to block the Clave, then discard Shelter from the Storm to stop the Flick Knives effect. But I would rather just save Shelter for blocking later in the turn. So this is a huge mistake. And I think I was just very excited about being able to do Shelter, but here we just get caught by Flick Knives. Yeah, we made Slippy use it, but Slippy got the effect they were looking for, and now we have to deal with this Mark of the Black Widow, which I could block with Flamescale Furnace. We still have Floating Prevention from Shelter Beyond the Storm, but I'm expecting that Slippy has a reaction, and I would rather just save my armor. We do see Spike with Blood Rot. I'm going to banish Ignite to the Mark of the Black Widow effect, keeping Oath and Energy Potion, which just represents a 2-card 8. We get to Oath, pitch Epot for Emberblade, use the floating resource to play Phoenix Flame. This is an easy block with Flamescale Furnace. We still have Floating Prevention from the Shelter Beyond the Storm. We get to cover 5 points of damage from Infect with 2 points of armor from Flamescale Furnace. I am going to block with Dragonscaler Flight Path, and it is simply because I forgot that I have Floating Prevention from Shelter Beyond the Storm. There is no counterplay from Slippy to us blocking for 2 there. That's just 100% a mistake. But we are still 10 points up on life. We get to send a 2-card 8, which either gets cards from Slippy or puts them in a position where they go to 16. We're going to get a card and armor on the Oath of Loyalty. That's fine by me. Oath doesn't have an on-hit, and that just takes a point of armor block away from Slippy that they could otherwise use to stop a Phoenix Flame that could trigger Mask of the Pouncing Lynx. Again, not going to do it here. I want to get Slippy low enough that Pouncing Lynx represents a significant life total deficit. I've got an Infiltrate here, coming in for 3 with Go Again. This hand does not use Enlightened Strike well. We can play yellow Brand with Cinderclaw, pitch blue Brand with Cinderclaw to attack with Searing Emberblade, use the floating resource to play Demonstrate Devotion, then activate FaB and play the Phoenix Flame, which gets the Brand with Cinderclaw Shuko, gets the Shuko effect from Brand with Cinderclaw, so we're representing a 3-card 11, which is great. We would not want to bottom the Phoenix Flame with E-Strike because we only have 1 in our graveyard, and if we lose that, then we lose a lot of value over the rest of the game. We could Arsenal E-Strike, but I generally try to stay off of Arsenal when I'm playing against Assassin, so that Leave No Witnesses and Command and Conquer become worse. So the best thing that we can do with this E-Strike is to block with it, and that's an interesting question in this situation. Slippy has 2 cards left. One could be a reaction, one could be a Leave No Witnesses, which we don't really care about here, but it could be something that we care about a lot more than Infiltrate. I think this is a good opportunity to block with E-Strike, but at the same time, our deck has a ton of junk in it, and I don't really mind Slippy getting it. So E-Pot off the top is like medium level of I wish that hadn't happened, where yes, this is going to let Slippy bank 2 resources for a future turn. At the same time, whatever. You know, I don't know how much I care about that. Here we can block with Flamescale Furnace. This is just a 1. I'm sure there's a reaction behind this, but I think blocking with that is better than blocking with the E-Strike now that we have committed to not blocking the Infiltrate, which again I wish that I had done. But in this case we can send a 4-card 14. This lets us brand with Cinderclaw, Searing Emberblade, activate FaB to pick up and play the Phoenix Flame, and then bottom demonstrate Devotion to the E-Strike. Currently, we are wading through Persuasive Prognosis. The best card for Slippy to take is Demonstrate Devotion, because with Demonstrate Devotion gone, my best way to use this hand, if I am not intending to bottom my Phoenix Flame, which I am not, is a 3-card 9. I brand with Cinderclaw, play E-Strike for 7, bottom, blue, brand. If they take E-Strike and leave Demonstrate Devotion, then I get to send my 3-card 11 with brand, Emberblade, Demonstrate Devotion, activate FaB, play Phoenix Flame for 2. I am not looking to break Mask of the Pouncing Lynx this turn. Slippy is still high enough that points from Lava Burst are not all that bad, and I'd rather have the threat of Pouncing Lynx for later in the game. But we are also getting our Shuko trigger, and so Lava Burst only comes in for 5. I really value my Pouncing Lynx at a minimum of 6, which is the value of Lava Burst plus the Tiger Stripe Shuko. So just pushing 11 points of damage here, seeing if we can get any cards from Slippy. But otherwise, if I can put Slippy below 10 life and still have my Pouncing Lynx up, then suddenly every one of my attacks becomes lethal. And that is a really good position to be in when your opponent just cannot let anything hit. That means that you are doing really well with FaB, your Draconic Ninja of choice, but probably FaB. So we get a block from Slippy. We are now going to FaB. This Phoenix Flame will put Slippy down to 14. Mask of the Pouncing Lynx for Lava Burst would only put them to 9. That is a pretty significant life deficit, but we're looking at 3-card Assassin here with an E-Pot hanging around. Tunic is up. They could definitely have plays that I am concerned about. Drawing into an okay hand, we really wish that Wax On was a blue. But the rest of this hand is pretty good. We get to send a 4-card 14 between Brand with Cinderclaw into Blaze Headlong, into Activate Fealty, then pitch Wax On to play Art of the Dragon Fire. But we also have our Flight Path and our Mask of the Pouncing Lynx. So if any of our attacks hit, we can break Pouncing Lynx, grab Lava Burst. Then because Brand, Blaze, Art of the Dragon Fire is our 3 Draconic attacks, we can break Flight Path to give Art of the Dragon Fire a go again, activate FaB to pick up and play Phoenix Flame, and then play Lava Burst, which is now 6 because of the Tiger Stripe Shuko. So while this is a 4-card 14, it could actually be a 4-card 21, and that is where I am really interested in breaking Pouncing Lynx, because we will get a lot of cards away from Slippy. And that means that I really don't want to block here. Kiss of Death is only 4 points of damage, it's 3 plus an on hit. We know that Slippy is probably going to play a follow-up, use Flick Knives to flick the Kiss of Death at us. We've got a Leave No Witnesses coming in for 4. There is no real on hit, we don't have an arsenal, we don't care about the damage. So I don't want to block this. I already don't want to block it from hand because I just want to play out. If nothing else, I want to play Brand into Blaze Headlong, Arsenal, Art of the Dragon Fire. But if I could keep Wax On, then I get to pitch it for Fire and break Flight Path, get Phoenix Flame, break Pouncing Lynx, my whole thing. So if I can get away with not blocking this, I will. But if this is a Black Tech Whisperer's turn, then I do want to play Wax On. Because if this last card in Slippy's hand is Codex of Frailty, which we haven't seen yet, then I am really nervous about just losing my arsenal. I lose a card from hand and then I lose the arsenal. So I really should block this. with Wax On. I don't know if I'm just expecting that this is to play the energy potion, which it is. But if that was a codex of frailty, if Slippy just gives up the energy potion, then we are suddenly very far behind. We are in a bad position, because we would have to probably discard Auto Dragon Fire, get a thing, play Wax On. Yeah, maybe we still get to put a turn together, but suddenly we're feeling a lot worse about our situation. Now, because this was an E-Pot, we get to send what is hopefully a 4-card 21, that we do need to hit at some point. So Inertia Trap, stopping the Brand with Cinderclaw. We're going to see if this Blaze Headlong gets through. Maybe? But no. So now we still get to send 7 points of damage with Fealty into Art of Dragonfire, pitch Wax On. And what's really cool about Dragon Scalar Flight Path, why I like it so much more than Snapdragon Scalars a lot of the time, is that it is an instant rather than a reaction. So Slippy can block this for 4. If we had to break Snapdragon here, then maybe Slippy has another Shelter from the Storm or some way to prevent 1 point of damage. But because they cannot anticipate what we're going to do based on using Flight Path reactions, we get to break Pouncing Links now, having dealt damage, and then still, before the end of our chain link, we can break Flight Path to give Art of Dragonfire go again. So we do get to push 7 more points of damage here. Now, it is unfortunate that Slippy had 3 defense reactions that got such good value, but even so, if Slippy takes 7 points here and goes down to 4, really any of our 2-card hands become lethal and significantly over lethal if we're threatening a 2-card 7 or 8. That's really good. Here we get Mask of Deceit. We aren't marked. Slippy doesn't get to pick what hero they become. Tarantula, probably one of the better ones, honestly. If they wanted to E-Pot Dagger, then that does actually represent a 2. Instead, it's just Command and Conquer, which I really wish that these 4 cards converted into something reasonable. If this was another 4-card 14, I would be happy to take 6 here and just put Slippy in a position where they need to give me 2 real cards from hand to not die. Unfortunately, this hand doesn't really do all that much. We cannot easily keep our Fealty around. The best way that we could use this hand to maybe put something together is by pitching Dragon Power to FaB on Slippy's turn, get our Phoenix Flame, play the Phoenix Flame for 0, then maybe pitch our second Dragon Power to attack with Ember Blade, and then we E-Strike bottom Wax On for 7, and it pushes 10 points of damage, which is technically lethal. It also lets us keep our Fealty, but what we could do instead is block the CNC with one of these 2 Dragon Powers, then E-Strike for 7, bottoming the other Dragon Power, and Arsenal Wax On. We lose our Fealty, but we push 7 points of damage, we get a 3-card 10, which is fine, and we Arsenal our defense reaction to set up for protecting our next 4-card hand, which maybe does threaten lethal. So I like that I am blocking here. We take 3, we go to 15, and then we just get to crack back with E-Strike for 7. We lose our Fealty, which sucks, but we didn't have a good way to keep it, and I think this is fine. See how Slippy wants to block it if they do. You could just go to 2 here and keep 4 cards, probably isn't what I would do, but it's a reasonable line if they think that they can threaten lethal with what they have left. Or at least maybe gain some life with Persuasive Prognosis or Art of Desire Body. Instead, they just take 4, go down to 5, and we Arsenal this Wax On. The hand that we draw into is not very good. We really wish that we had Fealty here. I'm never going to block this Hunter's Clave. But what this does make me think is we've got a Floating Resource and Tunic. So this could be a Codex of Frailty into Command and Conquer play. So how do I want to deal with this Kiss of Death? Again, Kiss of Death is just damage. It's only 4 points. I'm at 14. I can give 4 points of life. My hand does not convert very well. The best way to use these 4 cards is to play Fire Tenant Strike first for 3 go again, play E-Strike, bottom Lava Burst, choose Go again for 5, and then play Art of Dragon Blood for 4. So we push a 4-card 12, which is on rate, nothing very exciting. It does threaten a significant amount of lethal, so I don't hate it. If I could use my Art of Dragon Blood here to block the Kiss of Death, that's a great way to get value from it. We are pushing Fire Tenant Strike first into E-Strike, bottom Lava Burst for 7, which means that we're getting a 4-card 13, which is slightly better value than the full offensive line. But here's what I didn't catch in this game, and what I realized since then. We have not seen Codex Frailty at all. They have not pitched one, they have not blocked one, they haven't played one. So there are 3 codices left in our Slippy's deck. This is turn 6. There is a really good chance that this last card in Slippy's hand is Codex of Frailty. If they play Codex, they have Floating Resource and Tunic to play Command and Conquer, which means that we cannot block with Wax On, because we can't play defense reactions. We could take the Kiss of Death here, go to 10, and then we get to block CNC with Art of Dragon Blood and Lava Burst. Then E-Strike for 7, which still threatens lethal, and lets us keep our Wax On. So, if we are then playing the odds, our opponent still has 2 Command and Conquers, 2 Leave No Witnesses, and 3 Codexes left in their deck. We just haven't seen them. There is also the chance that our opponent just uses Tunic and plays CNC from hand. So basically, within my opponent's deck, there are 5 cards that punish me for not playing this defense reaction, and 2 cards that reward me for not playing this defense reaction. Right now, we should play this defense reaction on this Kiss of Death. There is no other card that Slippy has that really punishes us for using our arsenal here. If they Codex into CNC or Leave No Witnesses, cool, we'll discard a thing, get whatever, and then we still get our 3-card 10. But if we block this Kiss of Death with Art of Dragon Blood and then lose our arsenal to Command and Conquer, or lose a card from hand to Codex of Frailty, we're just in a really bad way. So it would be, the correct line here is to just play Wax on this Kiss of Death, and then not really get as punished by Codex of Frailty or CNC, because if this is Codex or CNC, then we just don't have a good line. So the way that we play around CNC now, if we wanted to protect our arsenal, would be to block with Lava Burst and E-Strike, and then just play Fire Tenant for 3, which sucks because it doesn't threaten lethal. Or we take 6, go to 8, lose our arsenal, and then use our 3-card 10. And I think that is the best line at this point. But of course, if we had played our Wax On, then we still get to, we're just very far ahead. Or we get to block the CNC with Art of Dragon Blood and keep our 3-card 10, but we're at 9 instead of 6. So it is a pretty big punt, in my opinion. It was defensible to keep the Wax On for more value than the Kiss of Death, but statistically, our opponent was going to punish us for having a defense reaction in Arsenal than for not having a defense reaction in Arsenal. E-Strike here, going to connect for 3. Putting our Slippy down to 2, we draw into a hand that can take advantage of that, but we are now in a position where, because our opponent can play in multiples of 3, could make this infiltrate 6, we need to block it. We don't have a defense reaction. So if we're looking at this hand and deciding what can we afford to block with, the easy answer based on number in the bottom right corner of the card is Art of Dragon Blood, which then lets us attack with Brand with Cinderclaw, followed by Fire Tenant Strike first, followed by Display Loyalty for a 2, 3, 4 attack sequence, and then activate FaB to pick up and play Phoenix Flame for 2 if we get to keep our Shuko. I am okay blocking this with Art of the Dragon Blood and just being safe around a attack reaction. So Slippy does have the Razor's Edge. We would have died if we had not blocked this infiltrate. And not the best pull off of the top of our deck, but still a good one. This Salt Wound is threatening lethal. We're going to use our Tiger Stripe Shuko here because we still get to send our 2-3-4-1 line. It just isn't a 2-3-4-2 line. There is no world in which we pitch Brand with Cinderclaw to attack with Searing Emberblade. I guess if we wanted to keep our Shuko and instead block with Display Loyalty, we could play Fire Tenant Strike first, pitch Brand into Searing Emberblade for a 2-card 7. That just doesn't seem very good. We'd be at 1 with a Shuko that we don't get a benefit from. Brand with Cinderclaw attacking, turning on or Display Loyalty just gets much more value out of this turn. Right, Brand turning on Display Loyalty and also turning on FaB. But the fact that Slippy blocks with the Flick Knives and goes down to 1 is actually pretty good for us, because we know that our 3 power attack was going to get at least 1 card from Slippy, and the fact that we're getting 2 3 blocks on this 4 power Display Loyalty is really good. A defense reaction in Slippy's hand probably loses us this game, but the fact that we instead get to completely strip the hand and then draw into 4 new cards means that we are in a better spot. These 4 cards are not very good, but they will do the job. The correct sequencing for this line is play Oath of Loyalty, pitch Breaking Point to play Demonstrate Devotion, then play Lava Burst for a 4-4-2. We have 3 Draconic Chain Links, so we can activate FaB, pick up and arsenal the Phoenix Flame. But unless Slippy has a defense reaction here, we will just win this game based on improper sequencing. So I believe how I end up sequencing this is play Demonstrate, pitch Lava Burst, and then pitch Breaking Point to FaB to pick up and play Phoenix Flame, which gets the job done. But this is suboptimal sequencing. The best way to do this would have been to end with a Phoenix Flame in Arsenal. But, this was a game of punts on our part. We barely got there, and I think if Slippy had drawn a little bit better than we do, just lose. And we went significantly below Slippy's value. So discarding the Shelter from the Storm instead of playing it was a huge mistake, and then also not even benefiting from the Shelter that we had discarded. We could have had 1 extra point of armor hanging out on our flight path, which I believe would have been useful at some point later in the game. If nothing else, we would have won the game at 2 instead of 1, which would have been a much safer life total. And then just a few sequencing mistakes later on. FaB is a fairly easy deck to play, but there can definitely be some suboptimal sequencing decisions that will lead to you losing games many turns down the road because you missed 1 or 2 points when you needed them, and this was a game where some bad decisions could have come back to haunt us, but we did get there. I hope you enjoyed this game. I hope you learned something from it. If so, be sure to head jab that like button. My comments are always open for any questions or feedback. If you haven't already done so, be sure to subscribe to my channel. It's free. It helps me out a lot. I have a Blue Sky, a Discord, and a Patreon, links to which are in the video description below. Subscribers to my Patreon at the Arc Lightning tier or higher will get access to this FaB matchup guide, as well as all of my matchup guides forever. I'll be back later this week with more daily FaB gameplay, and until the next time I see you, take care.